the weather is very much occupying our minds today because we've seen all this rain overnight, but this red weather warning coming in later at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and this is for significant coastal overtopping. As we know, red warnings very, very rare here on the Isle of Man, so let's see exactly what's in store. Joining us at the Ronaldsway Met Office is the senior forecaster Kirsty Wilding. Kirsty, Moramai to you. First of all, just before the wind arrives, we've had some very heavy rain overnight, but thankfully it's still pretty grim out there, but I think the worst of the rain is behind us now.
Yes, Moramai, Ben. Yeah, as you mentioned, the worst of that rain largely out of the way. So we have had quite a bit of rain overnight. We've had around 11 or 12 millimetres here at Ronaldsway, but up over higher ground closer to about 30 millimetres. And obviously that's off the back of already an awful lot of rain so far, not just this week. On Sunday, obviously, we had just shy of an inch of rain, but then also we're already basically had more than the month's average, and we're only on the 9th day. So obviously that's why we've been seeing so many sort of impacts with surface water flooding. So yeah, not very pleasant conditions, but the worst of that rain's out of the way. Maybe a little bit more of some patchier outbreaks, though, likely to continue probably until around lunchtime at the moment. But as we go through the morning, we'll look to remove that heavy rain warning from our webpage.
And then the wind really comes into force as we go through the morning. The winds from the south are really going to build, and they're going to touch some fairly big speeds by sort of dinner time, early afternoon.
Yeah, the peak in the winds are expected as we head into the early to middle part of the afternoon, and they're maybe just a smidgen higher than what we were looking at yesterday, predominantly sort of 60 to 65 miles an hour quite widely, so severe gale force. There is just a risk that we could see those wind gusts touching storm force, perhaps more likely in exposed spots across more western parts of the island and out over the Western Irish Sea. That's where the emphasis looks for those storm force winds, but obviously with pretty high tides expected as well as we head towards sort of 2:30 this afternoon. It's going to make for pretty unpleasant conditions around the coasts.
And it is those waves crashing over. We're expecting significant coastal overtopping and a lot of debris, and that's why this red warning is in place from 1 through until 4.
Yes, that's correct. Essentially, we did have sort of those very high spring tides, which we get sort of every month with the moon's cycle over the weekend. So we already had those spring tides. The tides are still relatively high, but they are starting to go down. But it's really the surge value associated with this area of low pressure has got quite deep central air pressure, and with that, that's given us quite a high surge value, just shy of a metre actually. And when you've then got sort of severe gale to storm force winds, that obviously then creates quite big waves as well. So once you've added the height of the wave on top of the height of that surge and the normal still water level of the tide, that's what's basically triggered it reaching up into sort of that red category really.
And we know a number of coastal routes will be closed from lunchtime through the afternoon. So how do you and the team determine in terms of a red warning? Because I know you're very reluctant to put out red warnings for all sorts of reasons. If we had too many, they would lose effect. So at what point did you think sort of yesterday actually this is moving into the red?
Obviously, as time goes on and we get closer to the event, confidence from the computer model data sort of increases. So there was always a good indication there was likely to be quite a deep area of low pressure nearby that was going to bring sort of certainly gale force winds. As it looked like those winds were going to increase to sort of a severe gale force level, that then obviously increases the height of the waves we were expecting. And as I said as well, we got the computer model that brings in the surge value. As we've got closer to the time, that surge value has got increasingly higher as well. And that combination of that high confidence that the event was going to occur, as well as the values that we were expected to see from sort of like the wave heights and that surge value really sort of pushed it into that red category. You know, it's a little bit different to the reds that we might have seen earlier sort of this year when we had the winds, because in some ways the red aspect is more localized rather than completely widespread, with it being the main focus around the sort of coastal areas. But you know, it doesn't take very much water or wind strength, to be fair, as well, to get knocked off your feet. So certainly one to you know, take caution around coastal areas today. I know the waves look pretty, but I would stay away if you can. Yeah,
absolutely. Busy time for you and the team there at the Met Office. Thankfully though, once we get through this today, it's still going to be fairly breezy, but I think for the rest of the week are things sort of settling down to some extent.
Yeah, things not looking quite so bad, luckily. As we go into tomorrow, we're left with some drier and brighter conditions, maybe some sunny intervals even, only isolated showers. Winds easing a bit as well, which is good news. And again, not too bad for Thursday as well. There's maybe a chance we'll see a bit more rain arriving overnight into Friday, but the amounts are an awful lot less. And again, further risk of some rain and drizzle over the weekend, but keeping an eye on the detail on that. But the amounts certainly seem to be a bit less than some of the heavier spells of rain we've had just recently, which obviously have fallen in quite short periods of time as well.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.